So let's get started with this set here. I'm looking at the stats, and obviously this is a really good one. They are always plus minus some because the artificial intelligence doesn't judge every ball correctly, but still, that's a really good one, of course. This one could be understandable because most people are trying to move more or work more with their forehands, be more aggressive. However, you're missing a lot of forehands because you're falling off the shot. And I'll show you that then on the video, of course. So this is definitely something that you want to work on a little bit. I mean, if we look at the stats for him compared, again, this is a little low. I don't think that I saw that necessarily on video. The numbers are not always super reliable, but they're always in the ballpark. This is better, and he is trying to use his forehand a whole lot. So this is something, when you make your game forehand dominant, this is a must. This needs to get up a whole lot. So if we're now looking at the shot distribution from your opponent, I mean, he's playing with just super safe margins. He's not really doing a whole lot. So you could literally say he watched one of my last videos where I said, like, aim for the junior lines. So this is just really good, safe play. And when we then compare that with your shots, obviously this is okay, but you see that we have a whole lot of the green ones, your forehand, right? And so this is just something that you want to kind of get a little tidied up, and that is really what broke your neck. The other thing was really the returns were not as successful. You gave him a whole lot of free points, and we'll look at that on film. And the next thing that you do want to see, so this is you again, and this is where you're taking the balls. So yes, we could say you're really aggressive, and you are an aggressive player. You're coming in, but a lot of these here are not that you're stepping in. You're forcing yourself to play them kind of like in no man's land, because you're not moving either all the way in or you're recovering behind the baseline. So there's plenty of balls basically where you don't necessarily outright miss the ball when you're hitting them from kind of no man's land, but you're giving him a not very high quality ball that he can then kind of do something with, and that's where you get in trouble. So recovering properly, and I do want to say that I quote unquote yelled at you for that also in the last match. All right, so starting in the first game, you're just giving him too many free points. And this here is a little bit of the combination of both falling back on the forehand, and that can happen on ground strokes or on the return. If we're looking at that here, see how you're lifting off and you're just ever so slightly leaning back. And then of course your racket face is a little open and you're missing them deep. So that is just one of the kind of examples on the forehand there that you're missing too much. And I do want to say that in the last video that I did for you, I also said, like, get a little bit of a more aggressive ready position, right? If you're that upright, it's very easy to fall back and off the shot. Now they're just too easy of a point. Not a bad serve, not terrible, but you want to be a little bit more aggressive in moving, right? So I'm seeing that here there's one step. So we need 2-3 adjustment steps to get out of the way there. Right, so in itself, this is a good point, but there is another reason why you're missing some forehands. Do you see here the preparation? See, if we're watching this here, you're being drawn in, you're getting up to the ball, but there's really no preparation, right? You're way too open on that. So you got to get up there a little bit more and adjust to that ball. You're too open, too upright. So this is an example of when I would yell at you if we had a lesson together. You see here that you're completely getting stuck in no man's land. So let's look at that a little bit more in slow motion. So you are seeing that he's going to hit the ball a little shorter because you served into his body here. So you're moving up to the ball. This is great. but then you're recovering to somewhere, yeah, around here. So with this ball that you hit, either come all the way in or recover back, because he's the type of player that actually gets this ball back. And yeah, then you're kind of getting screwed. And I think you know that because you're kind of laughing there and shaking your head. Right, and then last, one more example there. You do end up winning the point here, but theoretically you really shouldn't have. You're doing a really good job moving him around. But now look at what you're doing. You're just casually walking in there. Had he made that, you would have not had a chance. So again, more aggressive. So again, after an approach shot, all the way in. You want to get your first volley position inside the service box. All right, the second set against the guy who accuses you of pushing. Yeah, I would dismiss that as you bruised his ego, because I don't see any pushing. What you did really well is serving, the percentage and the placement, and then also the distribution of where you place the ball. You just made him run, and I think it speaks to you, or for you, I guess, that you even, stopped drop shotting a whole lot, because yeah, you could have hurt him even more. So yeah, there's no pushing. A couple of things on the slice. I'm trying to demonstrate that here. I hope that works. So one of the reasons why you're missing some of the returns is you're letting the wrist drop a little bit, and you have other returns where you're doing a much better job taking the racket back actually a little bit further to already get some weight on the ball, and then extending forward a little bit more. So that's really what you want to work on when you're returning. It's okay to take the racket back a little bit more, and in fact you actually have to. So again, you get some weight of the racket, regardless with what racket you play, so the racket is not bullied by the ball, and we kind of then tend to make up to find some more range basically with the wrist when we don't really have that pre-stretch. So that's one of the reasons that you miss a few of the returns, but then you have some really good ones that start the rally off moving him forward, and yeah, he didn't like that. All right, so the first thing, looking at the serve placement, and I'll show you plenty of points, and that is one of the reasons why you won so many points, is you did a great job here targeting that area. This here is a really good statistic there, and it really looks like you did that deliberately, and you figured that out, that he has a harder time getting out of the way, and he misses outright a whole lot. So this is a really good target for you, which also you can then, we talked about that last time, you can cultivate a little bit more to play serve and volley. And if only to show him that you're not a pusher, which you're not. So I'm not quite sure where that came from, but this is really good. The other thing that really hurt him is your shot distribution. So these are all the bounces basically where you're hitting the ball to. And usually, yeah, I would probably say like, oh, all of these here is not something that you want. But because he's not really good at moving a whole lot, this is exactly what you want. And then just the up and back movement that he has to constantly do. And you do see that on film, that he's standing a whole lot of times right here somewhere in no man's land, and he can't really do anything with the ball and or outright misses them. So I'm going to give you a few examples of the body serve and why that is so effective. And you're also playing one pattern that incidentally I actually made a video about, but it's great that you're using that. So I'll just let this run. This is 3 points. Outright miss. He's not quick enough to move. Plus, I think he really has issues reading your lefty serve. Same again, see how he's jammed? This is really good. Usually when we talk about serve plus one, you're going out wide and then you pull the ball into the open court. Here you're serving out wide and or a body serve, and then you're going behind him. Usually we're trying to target the deeper part of the court, because if somebody doesn't move as well, a lot of times they're not very good at changing direction laterally. However, I think some of the guys that you're going to play, you're doing really well exposing the front part of the court, and that's why I really like this play here. right? Jam him, you get a middle ball there, and boom, this is really great. And then same thing here again, jamming him, you're not giving him any angles, he's not getting out of the way. And he doesn't understand that he should probably, as a right-hander against a lefty, it would be easier for him to return if he moved out of the way and actually exposes his backhand, but because he so badly wants his forehand, you're doing the exact perfect thing, you're going right into his body. So a few examples of the backhand return, and on this one here, you see how you're letting your wrist drop there. So take back here is good. See if you can extend more. Do you see that racket head dropping a whole lot here? So if you can extend that forward a little bit more, you won't have that basically floater that you're missing directly. And I'll show you a couple of where you're doing that a lot better. So here it's a little tougher to see because you're in the background. But you're falling through a little bit more. Still quite a bit of side swipe here. So if you can extend a little bit more forward, you will not get those floaters. But this is better here because you're not just stopping the motion.